Every young footballer dreams of one day representing their country and playing for one of the world's top clubs. Many dedicate their entire lives chasing that dream.
One day, son. But not today. Come on, move!
But in today's video, we explore the story of a player who could have had it all, yet he never wanted fame, fortune, or glory. When he was called up to the national team, he chose to go fishing instead. Once, he even deliberately got sent off before halftime, just so he could make it home in time to celebrate Mother's Day with his mom. And those are just two of the many strange stories that define him. Despite it all, professional clubs across the country tried to sign him, and thousands came to see him play. Marcelo Bielsa, former Argentina national team coach, traveled every single weekend for 4 years just to watch him in action. So who was this mysterious footballer? Why didn't he ever sign for a big club? And what happened to him later in life? In this video, we uncover the unforgettable life of a football genius, a man who turned his back on fame and ultimately met a tragic end. His name was Tomás Felipe Carlovich, but everyone simply called him El Trinche, the man who was probably the greatest footballer almost no one outside of Argentina ever heard of. He was born in Rosario in Argentina, the same city as Lionel Messi. And to this day, locals still say, El Trinche was even more talented than Messi. When Diego Maradona was introduced as the world's best player after signing for Newell's Old Boys, he responded, "The greatest player is already here in Rosario. His name is Carlovich." He is perhaps the only footballer in history who never played in a top division, and yet was openly praised by both Pelé and Maradona. At just 15, Carlovich joined Rosario Central's academy. 5 years later, at the age of 20, he was about to get his big break, a debut in Argentina's top division. But that moment changed everything. The match was to be played in Buenos Aires, a long bus ride away. Carlovich boarded the bus early, sat in the back, quiet and lost in thought. But just minutes before departure, he got off the bus and never came back. He couldn't handle the spotlight. He didn't want to be famous. He was quiet, introverted, even strange. All he ever wanted was to play football, nothing more. He later joined Flandria, a third division club, and eventually returned to Rosario to play for Central Córdoba, also in the third tier. Though he was playing far from the spotlight, his talent was impossible to hide. Crowds grew larger each week. Everyone came to see the man they called El Trinche, the Fork, named for his tall, thin frame and long legs. As a midfielder, his vision and intelligence were unmatched. He was impossible to dispossess and could dictate the tempo of a game effortlessly. Sadly, very little footage of him exists today, most of it from when he was already in his 40s. And just as he was unique on the field, he was just as eccentric off it. While most players are occasionally late for training, Carlovich often didn't show up at all. Sometimes the team bus would stop at his house, and his teammates had to convince him to even join. And when he did, he often boarded half asleep, in just his boxers, with nothing but his boots in hand. Still, by the age of 27, he had become a local legend, and soon his name would be known across the country. In 1974, just weeks before the World Cup, Argentina's national team played a friendly against a Rosario All-Star squad. The squad was made up of players from both Rosario Central and Newell's Old Boys. With one exception, Carlovich from Central Córdoba was included thanks to the insistence of his former coach. And that night, El Trinche delivered a performance so dazzling that the national team coach begged for him to be subbed off at halftime, fearing he would humiliate the entire squad. When Carlovich left the pitch, he received a standing ovation fit for a superstar. The game ended 3-1 for Rosario, and newspapers the next day read, "Carlovich, the man who tore the national team apart." So why didn't he become a global superstar? The answer is simple: he didn't want to. He didn't care about money, status, or the pressure of fame. He just wanted to play football. He had brief stints at other clubs and played friendlies against top Italian teams, including AC Milan and Inter, both of whom tried to sign him. He could have even played alongside Diego Maradona at Boca Juniors, but to every offer, his answer was the same: no thank you. And again, he returned to Central Córdoba, the club he called home. In 1978, just before Argentina hosted the World Cup, Coach Menotti called up Carlovich to the national team. But on match day, he never showed up. Later, he claimed he had gone fishing on a nearby island and got stranded by flooding. Years later, when asked about it, he shrugged and said, "I don't remember." But if Menotti says it happened, it probably did. Carlovich ended his career at Central Córdoba and retired in 1988 at the age of 42. He lived a modest, quiet life. He had no wealth, worked as a bricklayer, and became increasingly nostalgic, a man caught in the shadow of his own legend. His city once held a charity match to raise money for a surgery. After the game, a journalist asked, "If you could do it all over again, would you change anything?" Carlovich's eyes filled with tears. He replied, "Please, sir, don't ask me that. Anything but that." He disappeared from the spotlight once more, until 2020, when Maradona insisted on meeting him. When they embraced, Maradona said, "El Trinche, the one who was greater than me." Carlovich smiled and replied, "Now I can leave this world in peace." And sadly, he did, but not in peace. While riding his bike, someone tried to steal it. He was struck in the head, fell into a coma, and passed away 2 days later. The tragedy happened very close to the stadium where his legend was born. Thousands came to mourn him. But what did he leave behind? Not trophies, not Ballon d'Ors, not sponsorships or fortune. He left behind a legend, a story that lives on in the hearts of those who saw him play. There are no highlight reels, but those who witnessed him in action all agree. El Trinche Carlovich was the genius who never wanted to be one. If you'd like to see more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. And if you know of another hidden football legend, tell us in the comments.